I gotta turn the camera on. It's held up on me. Be right there in a second. I'm coming alive. Hi there. Hi, this is Everetts Watercolors. This is Simply Drawing with Everett tonight. Posting here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Switch. I'm checking. I got the chat room live, and I see hi there on Facebook. How you doing? Welcome aboard. And this is Simply Drawing with Everett, and my website at everettswatercolors.com if you need to get a hold of me and so forth. So the chat room's live. You can make comments during the broadcast, and I'm here in my broadcast room with my wife Gloria.
Hello, welcome.
And she's monitoring the chat room, and we got restream. Hello. Okay. My wife will be monitoring this broadcast, also checking the chat room for me. Okay, well tonight I'm going to do another basic shape. Last time I did a cube, so forth. Tonight I'm going to do a sphere, but we're going to start with a circle. You take a circle, and then we'll create a sphere out of a circle. So that's the first step. Okay, so and also I'll show you the shading in process and give you some examples of other ways to do it. So let's go to my drawing table and let me get started. Over close up. Okay, you can see the subject tonight is a couple of balls. Okay, and I need to make a circle, and I got two balls here, and I put this in my still life setup location, and I put a light on it, and you can see the light where it's hitting here on the ball here. That's the hot spot. There's a hot spot on this ball over here, and there's a little shadow. But the cast shadow is what I really want to show here tonight. The form shadow on the ball, on both balls, and then the cast shadow here on this ball here. And there's also a cast shadow here, which is not very prominent, but there's a cast shadow here on this black surface. And I have the video tonight will be also posted on my website, everettswatercolors.com, and any material I show tonight will also be available on everettswatercolors.com. Now, supplies I'm going to be using, I'm going to have just a regular piece of sketch paper, and I've got an HB pencil. I'm going to do the outline sketch with the HB. Then I have a 2B and a 4B lead pencil. Those are for shading in, for a darker and a darker shade for shading in, for three-dimensional. Then I have a stump for blending, and then I have a synthetic eraser for correcting some of the construction lines and so forth. We'll put those aside. Okay, so I'm going to start here with the first part of the diagram here. When I start with a sphere, so we're going to draw a sphere. We're going to start with a circle first of all, the circle outline. So what I do is I hover over the paper to about the size I want to make and about the location I want to make it. I hover and do a circular motion, and then I bring the pencil down to the paper and just draw in that shape. Okay, and you'll see there. I'll bring up to the close-up camera. You can see there, just by doing that, you'll get the circle shape. Okay, it doesn't have. We're doing this freehand, so it doesn't have to be perfect. There's other ways to make a perfect circle. Well, that's the way I do it for drawing, okay? Now, we have a second circle over here, which is intersecting. It's overlapping this circle here. So I'm going to draw a smaller circle. Again, I'm just going to hover over the paper. And then when I feel like I get about the size and location, then I'll put the pencil down and just draw a few more circles around, okay? So that gives me that second circle. I'll bring it up closer so you can see it. So I got the main circle here, and I got the little circle here adjacent to the big circle. Okay, so then I can go ahead and I can take, if I want to make corrections, I can take the eraser and do some correction lines, but didn't make too many mistakes on that. That's a pretty good circle. All right, now to do a sphere, I have to shade it in. So I'm going to start off with the 2B pencil, and I know the light source is coming this way. And the lightest area is right here on the large circle. I can see here from the photograph. That's the lightest area right there. And the darkest area is over here behind on this side. So I'm going to start here on the back. So when I shade, I use the side of the pencil And I'm going to use the darker lead. I'm switched to the 4B. The orange ball is the large ball, and the yellow ball is the small ball. So I'm going to start here at the edge with a darker mark, doing the outline. I'm following the outline I drew there on the rough-in sketch. Now, as I come closer to the source of light, I'm going to apply less pressure here. And I'll switch leads also. I'm going to a lighter lead. Now I'm going from the 4B back here. Now I'm going to switch to the 2B. As I come here, I'm going to go around this section here. Now, I'm going to approximate where that light area is about right in there. So I'm going to move around that light area. I'm going to leave that alone right there. Okay. Now I can go ahead and start putting in the well, I might make a correction here. I'll just take here. No, that's about the right size. I can make it a little larger. Make the ball a little larger, that's fine. I can extend the parameter just a little bit. Okay, and then I want to take out the little construction line I had here. Okay. All right, now I can go ahead and start building this one up. I'm going to take the 2B and I'm going to put the darker side over here. Remember, the light source is out here on the edge, so the light source is here on the ball, on the yellow ball. So now I'm going to start marking the edge of this one, and I'm going to bring that in, darken up the edge out here, and as I move toward the light, I'm going to take the 2B, which is a lighter lead, and I'm going to go around that light area. I'm going to keep that area white. Okay, so that's a starting point right there. All right, now what I'm going to do,
Brazen Spirituality just popped in. Hi.
oh, hey Brazen, welcome. Good to see you again. Welcome aboard. Okay, I just got started with the large circle with the orange, and I added a little yellow circle here. And you can do the replay on this to catch the beginning. But I drew a circle, and now I'm shading in the sphere. And what the shading is going to do it's going to give this circle dimension. And the dimension of a sphere is you got a three-dimensional object. So you have to have light and a dark spot. So now I'm using the blending stump here, and I'm shading in the edges. This is the darker side back here, the darker edges back here. And as I come forward, I'm going to use a little lesser pressure up here because now the light spot up here. Now I'm going to build a small circle here around this area that's got the white on it. Okay, that's really the first pass, just to get started. Now, on the ball, this smaller ball, the yellow ball down here, which is going to be a small, in the pencil, it's just going to be a smaller, but I'm doing the yellow ball now. So this is going to be overlapping the larger ball, the orange. The yellow ball overlaps the orange. So, and I come down to the area that's got the highlight in it. There's a highlight here, which I'm going to leave white. That's where the light was shining on the object. I shined on it to get a shadow pattern on here, and also to get a highlight, because that has to be discussed as far as when you draw a sphere. Okay, now I can go in. I can do a little bit of. Let's take the 4B pencil, and I can go in. Now I'm going to turn the paper around a little bit. I'm going to turn it this way, so because I'm right-handed, so I'm going to work with the direction that I draw. So I'm going to go back and work on this one. I'm going to put a little darker shading back here. to really emphasize that the back edge is the darkest edge because it's furthest from the light. So I'm going to go around, and I'm using circular motions, or arc. I'm using an arc motion. I'm following the arc of the shape, and that's always a good idea when you're shading in something, is to follow the shape of the object. Otherwise, you're going to get some marks on there that look a little weird sometimes. So you want to follow the edge or the contour. And I'm spinning this around. I'm going to rotate it around and just keep working a little darker. Now you're going to get the idea here that this may take several passes. I'm not going to do this. I probably won't finish this whole thing because I got something to show you here at the end. But this is the beginning of shading in a circle to turn it into a three-dimensional sphere. And that's by shading in the edges. This is all done by hand. Just remember I showed you how I started, just with a circle, just by zooming in, and then letting the pencil touch the paper. Okay. Now I'll pick up. Now I'll use this lighter lead, which is the 2B. As I come in closer to the light area, I switch leads. This is a little lighter lead, 2B. And this doesn't have to be exact. This is a demonstration. This doesn't have to be exact. It's a demonstration to show you how this is done. And I can take the eraser and pull out any of that. If I marked up anything a little bit, I can take the eraser and pull it out. Okay, and then I'll put some more. I'm going to put a little more shading on this ball over here, the little smaller one. And take off a little bit of take off some of the construction area. I'll take off a little bit of the shading off of that, just to get that one center area really nice and white. The highlight there is going to be the shape of a circle because it's the shape of the object. Usually a sphere will have a circular highlight because of the surface. Okay, and then I can draw in very quickly. I draw in the cast shadow. Now the shadow I really like. This is the light coming in here is going to cause this cast shadow on the photograph. You see that cast shadow? It's going to have a circular. It's going to have a circular curve to it. That's what I really wanted to show tonight, was the dimension of that. And that's going to be much darker. That's going to be the darkest area on the whole picture here. And this will give this little picture here a little more dimension by putting this dark area. This is a cast shadow. Now I'm putting a little more pressure on the pencil so I can get a much darker mark, because this is the darkest part of the drawing right here, this cast shadow. And now as it goes further out here, it starts to blend in with the form shadow of the sphere. So I let up a little bit on the pressure. All right. Now I'll take the blender now and blend out that shading. That's what the blender is good for, blending out the marks on the paper. And then it blends away into the background here, into the form shadow of the ball. Okay, so we have the large sphere here with the highlight and the shadow, the form shadow back here, and then we have the small ball with again a form shadow with a highlight here, and we have the cast shadow here from the small ball, cast shadow onto the larger ball. And then there's really, it's hard to see, but there is a cast shadow on the table, and what that is on the black surface here. So I'll draw that in just lightly. there'll be a cast shadow here. If I had used another background for the base there, it would have showed up better. I didn't really care about that. I was just going to go ahead and put this in anyway. So there's a cast shadow down here from both objects, and they blend together also. And that's not as dark. Not the shadow, if it was on a piece of lighter paper, would not be as dark as this shadow right here. And the last little mark I'd make would be the background. The background, I can go across here and put a line showing the background layer. And I'm not going to shade that in. I'm just going to show the horizon line or the back of this shadow box. I have a shadow box here that I take pictures on. Okay. Let me darken up just a little bit more so you can see it. Okay, I'll bring it up close for you. So there's a finished drawing and that's just a a demonstration of the finished drawing for the large ball and the small ball with the cast shadow from the small to the large. Okay, and that's there. And this reference photograph and this this will be. I'll have this on this reference photograph. You can take a look at it. You can do a snapshot of that. On your video, you can take a snapshot and you can try this. You can try this for yourself. Okay, try to draw this. And here's a sample right here of a finished drawing. Now, what I did now, I did this earlier on another piece of paper, and it turned out to be. I put another layer on it and got it a little bit darker. Okay, but it turned out to be the same way. Okay. Now I want to show you another shape that we can draw. I go out on the weekends and do all kinds of drawings and sketching and so forth. I found this shape here. This is the shape of a water tower. It's about 5 miles from my house. I go by it quite a bit. So it's nearby, so it's very close to get there. But this is a circular shape on top of a baseline, or a base, but it's got a circular shape to it. So it's the same idea here of drawing this. Is we start out with a circle about the size you want. And then we put a base to it. Now I'm using my contour drawing now. What I'm doing, I'm just looking at the shape on the photograph, and I'm doing an approximation of the shape that I see. And this comes down about 2/3 of the way, and then the base flares out at the bottom. And this would have a circular shape at the bottom also. But you don't see that from the photograph. Okay, now the way to shade this one in, because the light. This was a early morning shot with the sun. But what I do is I shade from the bottom, because that's where the darkest area is, and I start shading. Remember, following the contour of the shape. Go around the edges, and the shadows goes about 1/3 of the way up, basically. Really, the darkest part is about 1/3 of the way up of that circular shape, and it starts to have an arc to it. It's not straight. It's got a bend to it. So I'm working on that, and bring this down a little bit more. This comes down just before we get to the narrow point here. And get a little edge, or just a little shading on the edge. The light source was from this way. The sunlight was not really out. It was kind of a cloudy day, so it wasn't much of a shadow pattern on the shape itself. And then there would be, depending on which side the light was coming from, there would be a shaded edge. And I'll choose this one, light coming from the left to the right. Might be some shadow over there. Then I would take the stump and do the same blending I did on the sphere I showed you earlier. Just blend in that shading. And again, I'm going to just do a rough pencil line. Just do a rough pencil sketch here to give you an idea. And then I blend off the rest of that. It goes up into the top. Of course, it's not all white. The whitest area is the sky. This would have a little bit color to it. And then to blend this out just a little bit more, bring in a little more pencil. Okay, but I think it will get you. I just want to get you the idea here. Now you can take any subject that's circular, in this case spherical, and we can draw it like a circle, and then fill in the shadow or the shading of the shape. So I want to show you. I did. Here's another drawing I did of that same shape right here. I did it on another sheet of paper. And I shaded that in. I took a little more time with it, but I did the same shading here. You can see it's almost a pretty good shot, almost exact. And I didn't trace anything. This was all done by hand, all done by hand. Now let me show you. Also, I did this one when I was. I did this drawing when I was outside. This is my plein air. I was sitting here, right below this in a car, and I drew this through my car window. So this is the shape I drew on location. I drew this one from the photograph. This one here, this one I drew from the photograph. This one I drew from actual location. So that's a difference of when you see something on real, it looks a little bit different than what you would draw from a photograph. Okay, there's always a little difference there. But I think the shading on this one turned out pretty good too. I really like that the way it turned out. But what I did was I put this on I used my my visual journal, which is a mixed media journal which I have on my website, and I take this out on me every weekend and do drawings in, and I do paintings also. Over here, there's another circular object. I went further down on the waterway and I found a life preserver which had a circular shape. So I drew it out with a pencil, then I took my watercolors and went in and did a little coloring in with watercolors on top of that, or watercolor pencils. Down here, also a little bit closer by, I found an old vehicle. I found an old tractor with some wheels. Well, here's a circular shape here with wheels on it. So I drew that out and then put some color on it with watercolor. You can see there's some more circular shapes. The more rounded shapes, you'll find them all over the place. Every time you go out and take a look at it. Now, a couple of things we can do that I really think. I got time here to go over it. So let's review what I did so far. Okay, I did a demonstration here of. I lost my drawing. Here it is. I did a demonstration drawing of the photograph here of the two balls and the shadow pattern. That's what I did here tonight live. Okay, and that's a very good example of a sphere starting with a circle, actually two circles and two spheres. All right, and then I showed you some examples here of the ones I've done here from the photograph and so forth. Then I showed you this photograph of something I found outside, which was this water tower, and I showed you. I drew this live next to it with the shading, and I showed you an example of that also. And then I showed you my sketchbook I take with me all the time. This goes with me. Everywhere I go outside, I take my sketchbooks with me. Now, a couple of things you might want to try also. And I do this in my art, I do this a lot. There are other objects which make circles. Now here's a roll of tape. If you just want to make circles, you can take an old roll of tape and you can draw a circle. And you've got an instant circle, and then you can shade that in. So if you need a good shape, a good circular shape, you can always get one out of a. And here's a Here's a container lid, a plastic container lid. I know you have plenty of these around the kitchen, around the house. Or a bottle cap. The same thing. You can draw a circle with that. So if you're having problems getting a circle by doing it by hand, then you can always find something to get you started with a circular object like this. A empty tape roll, or a bottle cap, or a container top. Okay? So those are recommended, and then you can go ahead and then you want to practice on your own. You got something here to start with, and then you, as you say, start the circle above. What I do is I go above and I just do a circular motion. And that comes out to be a very good circle pattern. Practice that, okay? And make as big as large as you want. Then go in there and darken it in. And you can. What I do is I check myself. I go around the circle and I draw the arc in. Get it as dark as I want. Rough it in. This is all by hand. Okay, so that's the manual circle. This is the one I used something to draw with, but here I did it by hand, so I could also control the size and shape and so forth. Okay, well I hope you have some questions and comments. Let's say, okay, well, does a smiley face have eyes?
Yes.
Round or just slots? Boy. Okay, so to be a little, I took the circle and made it into a smiley face, and that's my gift for you tonight. Have fun with this. Get a piece of paper, a piece of sketch paper. Get a couple of pencils. I would suggest number 2 lead, and maybe if you have a darker lead for getting a little bit darker. You can use anything. You use crayons. You use colored pencils, and then practice making circles, and then make something out of it. I drew now this one here, for example. I could do this one. I can make a bow out of this one. If I was, say in the morning when I'm eating my cereal, I cut this in half. I make an arc. Now instead of a circle, I'm doing an ellipse. Part of a circle is an ellipse. Oh, I got a question. Do you have any tips for making an irregular shape like the water tower seem accurate? Mine always. Do you have any tips for making an irregular shape like the water tower seem accurate? Well, the only tip I have is make sure you study the photograph very carefully, and by studying the photograph, you'll notice get the shape, get the outside shape there first. Then work on any irregularities like the shape down here and so forth. But get in your mind, kind of just do a phantom tracing. Just kind of in your mind, get the circular motion, and then then transfer that to your, then your paper and then transfer that to your paper. So you do it kind of like a phantom tracing, okay? And then go to a piece of paper and do the same motion. All right, that'll get you started. Then use contour drawing, which is you look at the object and then you make modifications to that shape by just looking at it. Come down here and you look how far is this curve here. You look at the shape. Do a little section at a time. What you're doing here is you're following the contour down the object. You're following the contour. When you get down to the base here, you follow the contour. You see the shape here? Just follow the contour as you see it. And that's what you'll get better the more and more you draw different kinds of shapes. Bottles, round bottles, round saucers, and so forth. What I was trying to finish up here was I could start with a circle and cut it in half and wind up with a cereal bowl, okay? And then put a spoon in it, and you have your breakfast right there. That's probably one of the first things I ever drew, besides an apple and oranges and so forth, was I did a cereal bowl, and I did a coffee cup and things like that. So those are round shapes that you can get circular. You get a circular shape about. Well, that concludes my little demonstration tonight, and I hope you try that out, and I hope you enjoy that. I gave you quite a few examples to start with. The idea of drawing is to get the general contour down, then go back in and make some final shapes to it. Make your final, like I did this bowl here. I go in and do some tweaking on this, and then you got your eraser and erase some of your lines. So the eraser will take out some of the contour, some of the construction lines, and I don't erase everything. I leave some of the lines there, because that gives a little artistic license that, hey, that's what I drew. You know, so the personal lines you make, which are going to be your lines, is your signature to your drawing. Okay? All right. Well, that ends it up tonight, and I'll be back again tomorrow or Thursday at 7:30 p.m. And go back to the main camera. Thank you for signing in tonight, and I'll be next Thursday. I'll be back online at 2 o'clock. I start with my painting class at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Everetts Watercolors, and then I'll be back here again at 7:30 in the evening on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll do another drawing, and simply drawing with Everett. And my earlier one is simply painting with Everett. My Everett's watercolor class. Okay, I'll see you all. I hope to see you again next week, and until then, happy drawing. And I'd like to see some results, if you could, and give me some thumbs up. So, until next week, be safe, and bye.